Hello and welcome to this Eyes of Harmony's reflection.
In the mirror.
That's going to be our reflection theme now.
Is it?
That's right. So here we're going to look back over the recently ended Moffat era. So as many of you may know, Stephen Moffat has left Doctor Who now.
What? Really? I didn't. First time hearing about this.
After a 7-year run as the head writer. Wow, that's a lot longer when you say it out loud.
Yeah.
7 years.
It is.
That's all of.
It's around.
It's all of secondary and sixth form.
Yeah, that's about John Nathan Turner length, isn't it? Or was John Nathan Turner a bit longer?
I think John Nathan Turner might have been slightly longer.
Yeah, because it was 1980
no, he was 9
to
years. 9 years.
Yeah, 9 years. So he was a bit longer, but yeah, comparable. I mean, he didn't even get that close. For a head of Doctor Who, you know, that's
a while.
Yeah, they don't usually last all that long, so you know.
But it's interesting because John Nathan Turner didn't do any writing. He just told them what to write.
Basically, well, he was.
Which is interesting. While Moffat does the writing.
Moffat's a head writer, just as Russell T Davies was, and a lot of John Nathan Turner was much more of a producer, as was well, I guess just general showrunners, I guess, but that was how it was back then. In fact, if you look back at the John Pertwee year, I think it was a rule where you couldn't actually write if you were also the head showrunner or something, or the producer. I think Barry Letts had to write under a pseudonym when he submitted the story.
Oh yeah, yes, that rings a bell. But anyway, yeah, so it all started back in 2010, though people knew it was coming in kind of
about a year before
in 2009.
Yeah, because we'd heard
maybe even 2008 it was announced, or really early 2009.
I don't remember. I think we were when we were going into the specials, we had no idea either way, and then we just slowly got out. Oh, they're changing the head writer. Oh, we're changing the Doctor.
Let's see if there's any articles about it.
Probably it's hanging around somewhere. But Moffat, of course, being very highly regarded at that point, writing some classics there.
Well, I mean, everyone was excited because they were like, "Oh my days, it's going to be
great writer." And around the same time, or was it slightly after, he did Tintin as well? He was writing that at that point. At least.
he left Tintin to go on Doctor Who.
Head write Doctor Who, yeah.
Though
his you can very much still see his mark in Tintin. Where he wrote.
Oh, I love Tintin. I was surprised they never made a sequel to that as of yet.
I don't know how well that did, but anyway. But he was very highly regarded, especially then. But I think a lot of fans will say this, even if you like him generally, that there was a definite Moffat before he became head writer and after it, in terms of his writing, and I'd say, and in quite a few people's opinions, general quality of writing. So we were excited, and as the months went by, we slowly got bits and more pieces and tidbits about what he might bring to the show. And then in the middle of the awards show, David Tennant announced he was leaving, which in retrospect probably wasn't the best moment to reveal that, because everyone was like, if you listen to the video, it just goes from everybody being so happy and overjoyed for David Tennant to a sudden
It is quite funny. I always enjoy watching that video. It's like pure panic.
It's just sudden drop in tone of everybody.
Yeah, it's like, thanks for this award now. I'm going, bye. Cheers for it.
Yeah, no, I think he should have held that off for a little bit.
Yeah, and the first kind of costume reveal was Matt sitting on some stairs, wasn't it?
Well, they revealed that later in the year, so I think
it came first because
well, of course that was before End of Time, but that came.
The first
they revealed
set
Matt's
photos.
Well, because
they revealed Matt Smith quite early on.
A few months later, yeah, because there was all that speculation. I remember the speculation with that was quite insane, and I remember in particular it was Patterson Joseph, I think, was the head runner. Well, the lead for what people the highest speculated.
Yeah, on January 3rd, 2009, Matt Smith was said he was going to be the new Doctor. So that was over a year before he even,
Yeah.
Before David Tennant, the next Doctor had only just been broadcast. So this was before Planet of the Dead and so on.
Yeah, well, there was quite I remember, especially that one was the most all over the place in terms of speculation, with all sorts of things being thrown out. That was the most insane. I guess that's just because the show was very
big at the time.
Yeah, and having that Moffat as head writer really, really excited people. So
Moffat had been announced.
There's a huge flurry.
By this point, Moffat had already been announced.
Yes, no, he was announced at the very beginning of everything.
In 2008 then. Because, he must have been, because they go, Stephen Moffat, it's a Telegraph article. That's interesting. So he must have been announced between probably the Christmas special and the end of the 4th series.
Yeah.
Stephen Moffat must have been revealed that he was going to take over. And then David Tennant revealed that he was going to be leaving at the awards thing.
Yeah. But there was a huge flurry of speculation about who he might cast as the Doctor. And again, they had Patterson Joseph, who, had he been cast, would have been the first Black Doctor. And maybe that was the actor who they offered the role to in the first place, because they said they offered the role to a black actor. That might have been him, in retrospect, because he was the first place in the speculation the entire way through. Actually, wasn't he? I can't remember. Was he?
What was his name again?
I think it was Patterson Joseph. I think. Or maybe I'm trying to get. I think he might have even been in Doctor at some point.
Oh yeah, he was in the 2005. Oh,
yeah, he was in Parting of the Ways. He was the guy who was my money.
Yeah, he was in Peep Show as Alan Johnson.
Yeah, he was first in that speculation the entire way through until Matt Smith was unveiled.
He would have been an awesome Doctor. I loved him in Peep Show. He would have been so cool. Oh, he's got such style to him. He would have been amazing. He was Roderick in Bad Wolf Park.
Yeah.
Oh, he would have been great. Bring him back. Doctor number 14.
Well, I don't think I figured that far ahead quite yet.
I know, it would be cool,
unless Jodie's going to pull another Christopher Eccleston or event.
I think she's enjoying it, but I just don't see her lasting more than 3 years in the role. I think she'd want to try something else. That's my bookie's bet. 3 seasons of moving.
Not that this is necessarily a discussion to go too deep into it, but I don't really getting the feeling she's quite as connected to the role as some of our previous actors we've had.
I mean, Matt Smith wasn't really connected either. So
no, he was a fan. He was a massive fan beforehand.
Matt Smith wasn't. He
not massive, but he was a fan.
He hadn't watched any until he got the role.
You sure?
Yeah, I remember him saying he went back and watched some.
Oh.
He watched Tomb of the Cybermen, which was a good choice.
Good choice.
And I think some of it earlier, but I don't think Matt Smith had watched any. It was Capaldi and David Tennant who were fans.
Oh, well, no.
I mean, Christopher Eccleston hadn't really watched the show either. He watched a few now and then, but he preferred, as he commonly says, he was outside playing. Which he says to everything. I remember he was in the 4 Dark World panel, and they asked, did you read many of the comments? He was like, no, I was outside playing. That's literally what he says to anything. Did you even watch anything, Christopher? But I guess that's how he got so good at acting, because he used his imagination a lot, I guess. So.
Yeah.
There you go. Don't watch anything, kids. Play outside.
Yeah.
We'll all be actors.
But yeah, anyway. Sorry.
So then it was kind of, as David left, there was the first opening scene, which was written by Moffat, which was, I watched that so many times over and over and over. I can remember that music so well. Kind of remind me of Jungle Run, kind of when the drum bits came in. And it's kind of got this jingle to it.
Maybe.
Kind of a bit when Jungle Run.
Yeah.
You don't know, was this CITV program where these kids would go do these kind of I don't know, PGL kind of activities.
Yeah,
and try and win prizes like video game consoles and DVDs and stuff.
And then they had
And
a couple of monkeys running around. You had to grab golden monkey things.
Or bronze monkeys or silver monkeys and so on.
Different prizes.
It was actually a really good show.
Yeah, I loved that one.
Yeah, it was a good one. Anyway, and basically, but when they ran between location, this like little jingle would start, and it reminds me a bit of that. But anyway, yeah, and then like the best thing was between David Tennant's regeneration and Matt Smith's first season was only 3 months and 2 days.
It's weird to think that, yeah. I mean, especially in the new series, there is quite a big gap between most of them. That wasn't so much the case in the classic series, especially early on when like William Hartnell regenerated like mid-season, wasn't that?
It was, he had 2 episodes and it changed over.
Yeah, but I think
between the second, there was a bit of a gap. There was like half a year between the second and third Doctor.
Yeah, between those,
That's
yeah.
because television changed as a whole.
Television changed. They were bringing colour. Plus, there was there was a lot of work that went behind John Pertwee's first season because it was an entire tonal shift from everything else that had come before it.
Yeah.
It was a required change, but it was a change.
The gap between the 4th and 5th was quite long, though. March 21st, 1981, and then the next series started 4th of January, 1982.
Yeah.
So that's quite a gap.
Yeah, well, because people were probably really bored in the loss of the 4th Doctor at that point.
I think the issue is we're waiting ages before Jodie's, almost a year. But that's kind of usual, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I find it weird how they haven't already kind of started the marketing push for it, because...
Well, the new logo and stuff, and
yeah, but it's been so minor, like there hasn't really...
I think they're going to wait until it's closer to the time than hit with the big stuff.
Well, no, I'm not saying big stuff, but I mean stuff more regularly, I guess. Just something. Just keep interest up, because I think I worry that by the time they get to it, the excitement would have dried up a little.
Because that was a good thing about the Stephen Moffat first series 5, was it had lots of promotional stuff. I remember the trailer.
Oh, tons! Like I remember the cinema
times.
trailer. I watched several times in the cinema itself.
Oh yeah,
and in 3D. That was neat. Getting to see that in 3D. Actually, Doctor in 3D in general. Though we never had a 3D TV. That was my grandparents. That was cool when we watched that. But
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I remember the preview and I remember the music. It was like da 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 da. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, no. For the Matt Smith era, there was a huge marketing push. I remember, a lot of things continued from the marketing push they had for David Tennant's era, such as the merchandising and such. But they really emphasised the new books. They had various different pieces of memorabilia with the new logo on it everywhere. It was just as big. And I remember all the kids around me were talking about it, and it was quite a huge. There was a buzz around it, but then the series came out, and it's I know most people consider the series 5 up there with amongst the best of Moffat's, and I would generally agree. But a lot of people I've talked to in the years since, for around our age, got put off by it.
I think that was people who just didn't like the change of style. Because the thing is Russell T Davies is very family, while family hard-hitting drama kind of thing. It was a bit of a soap in some ways.
Yeah.
At times, but Stephen Moffat went for fairy tale. Then when he tried soap, with Amy, Rory, Dr. Love Triangle, it
just
yeah.
didn't work. But no, I mean,
I'm rewatching the series trailer actually now. The series 5 one. It's actually not that great. I remember watching this so many times.
Yeah,
I remember I was really excited for the Smilers as Beast Below review, which you guys can go and listen to. You can find out what I thought about that when they actually came to screen.
But yeah,
I think the Beast Below didn't help actually, it being so rubbish. So
that really
that was
did
really damaging.
Yeah, I mean, I think the general reception to 11th Hour, at least at the time, was kind of a bit more ho-hum. But Beast Below, I think, really, really shot themselves in the foot there.
Yeah.
I mean, a few people I talked to did continue to watch it for a few years on, but it was just slowly, people just slowly started trickling out, at least from our age group. Though I imagine it was still pretty popular with kids, although I'd certainly say that the marketing push in the years since has just slowly, especially the kids, has just trickled out. They change the figures, they become less and less popular. Stuff like the character building stuff which they did and no more. The books aren't as regularly pushed towards kids.
I think that's the problem. The marketing for Doctor Who's become really shit.
Yeah.
And that's one really bad negative.
There's no excitement around it as much as there used to be anymore outside the fan base itself. We're the people who care about it. We basically market Doctor Who to ourselves.
Well, this entire channel is basically marketing Doctor Who in some ways.
Pretty much. Marketing DVD releases and, whatnot. But
we should be paid.
Yeah. That'd be nice.
Where's our paycheck, BBC?
Subscribe, pay us on Patreon.
But yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's one of the big issues with the Moffat era. They started trying to do it with the marketing push exactly the same as they had with the David Tennant era. But it was clear that Moffat's idea of where the series should go and what age group he was pushing for was completely different to that of the marketing. So the kids, and it clashed, and then the marketing kind of trickled out, because I consider it, especially some of the later series, especially when you get to series 6 and 7, can you market a lot of that to children?
Hey, here's pregnant Amy action figure. With a removable baby. Don't think that would have gone down well.
Hey, his naked river song, in that one cut part of the trailer, which they kept showing over and over again, never actually appeared in the actual episode.
Wait, did it?
Yeah, it was never in the episode, but there was a moment in the trailer where Riversong winks in the jail cell, and it's got nothing on.
Oh, maybe they added clothes on her.
No, that scene I don't think just.
Really? I don't remember that being a thing.
Yeah, there was a scene which they kept showing in the trailers, which was just her winking when they kind of had a.
It was the series 6. Yeah, series 6 I also felt went too dark.
Oh no, that was way too convoluted. I mean, if you
drove too messy as well.
Too messy, convoluted. I think series 5 didn't help, but it generally stuck to what worked with the series before.
The format.
There were solid stories, and I think a lot of fans,
a lot of single parts.
Yeah, and a lot of fans came to like the characters, and it kept things up. It's not like the viewing figures dramatically dumped, or shot down or anything, but it was. It kind of seemed that way from our perspective, but of course there were new kids watching it and all that, so there was more. It continued. It followed up with what Russell T Davies did, and while it may not have been quite as good, in my opinion, it kept up a good thing. It continued to bring some solid stories and some interesting.
I think also something which got dropped, which didn't help from what they kept doing, is they kept every series 1 to 5 kept bringing back a classic monster.
Yeah, that brought in excitement. Yeah.
And then series 6 stopped that.
Yeah, no, they continued that with series 5 with the Silurians. But, I mean,
it didn't work, but there was excitement around it.
Yeah, about the outright bringing it back.
They could market it, look at the return of his classic. And then they brought back the Weeping Angels, which was good at that point. That was a fair enough bring back.
Yeah, that was when they were kind of at the height of their, oh my goodness, this brings the best story ever. Weeping Angels used to be everywhere kind of push.
Yeah.
So, and again, the action figures continued on the same path, and it was very popular.
The Vincent and the Doctor is one of the best, probably maybe even the best Matt Smith story. Though the Doctor's wife.
I don't know about that, but it's up there. It's a great one.
It's one of the best.
But and actually, I'd say for Series 5 as well. As much as we didn't like stuff like the Smilers and such, at least they had a marketable design. They were somewhat memorable. unlike a lot of what would happen later. But, Series 5 kept up the good tradition. It led up to a big final story, which, again, I'm not necessarily so fond of that one, but actually, it built up well, and it felt distinct from Russell T's era while bringing its own flavour enough. And, I think a lot of people, well, at least from my perspective, I was excited to see where they'd bring it next. They had a interesting tone. There was some good stories, some kind of not so good stories, but they'll build on it. They'll improve. They'll have build on this formula and make it interesting for the next season. And they didn't do that.
Yeah, and Series 6 I think Series 6 is a massive turning point, actually.
Yeah.
The split ruins. I think the split was a big problem. Because people then kept getting pulled out of the story. Because I remember Series 5 feeling satisfied. We'd had an entire season, 13 weeks of Doctor Who, that's wonderful. But then we had 7 weeks, and then 6 weeks after like a 2-month break. I was like, but why? Why did we need that break? What was gained from it?
And what did they say at the time? I mean,
I can't remember. I know that probably the reason why is because I was looking ahead at the 50th, and it's like, well, then we'll have to make an entire season for Series 7, and we'd have to make an entire series for the 50th anniversary year, and the 50th anniversary special. It's like money, too much. Or, Matt Smith would have wanted to leave, so they would have had to get a new Doctor.
It wasn't as big an issue with Series 6 as it was Series 7, I think, really. Because there wasn't as long a gap for Series 6, was it?
Series 6, so A Good Man Goes to War was on the 4th of June, and Let's Kill Hitler started on the 27th of August.
Yeah, so that wasn't that bad.
I think a big problem was The Impossible Astronaut was okay.
Yeah, although I think a lot of people were already a little lost on it.
But it's
from
just
the beginning.
I think Moffat made things too complicated.
He tried really hard for this whole
mysterious kind of feel.
To go for this whole series arc. He might have watched other popular shows and just kind of thought, well, they have a consistent overarching plot throughout the entire thing. Russell T started and did bits of this, although it's more subtle. Why don't we try an entire series where it's just an arc, like everything's interconnected and it's all part of this one big journey towards this big event. I think that in itself wouldn't have necessarily been an issue had they not had episodes entirely based around and wouldn't work without being part of an overarching story. That's my biggest issue with it. You look at Doctor Who. Whenever you see the best story, you don't look at it as, oh, how does this fit in with the rest of its universe? How does this work in the context of this, and this? It's like you look at the story. It's just like, oh, this is a good story. I'll watch it. But you look at The Impossible Astronaut and Day at the Moon, and it's like you're not going to be satisfied if you just watch that, are you? That's not. It's not gonna, or even that was the case with several stories, especially Let's Kill Hitler and such. Especially that was the biggest. That wasn't.
It was an awful reintroduction to the series. I mean,
that was
Doctor Who's back, and it was just
that was literally just a plot point. It was the episode was a plot point, just a bit of expansion lore.
And yeah,
the whole Nazi Germany setting did nothing. It was no need. Hitler being there was pointless. There was nothing to that. There was nothing gained from that. And and as you said, a good man goes to war and all that. That's. I mean, maybe it's a bit more memorable if you look at it as an overall package. But if you try to think about, I tried to think about Good Man Goes to War. And I just don't think about anything. I just do not remember that story. That it's just gone. I
remember it because I watched it probably more recently. But yeah, it's pretty much.
I haven't watched it since launch.
I think the good thing about the Russell T Davies era compared to the Moffat era was there were never any plot point stories.
Yeah, well, that's
They
my
were all
thing.
stories which just brought in other elements. So Utopia is a story in itself. It just so happens the Masters there. That's probably the most plot point one there is.
Yeah, I mean that happens for the series finale. Usually, it ties together smaller plot points which they brought up in earlier episodes, ties it all together, and usually is a two-parter where you need to watch both parts in order for it to make sense.
Yeah.
And that in that case, it's a three-parter. That makes sense. And if they did that for this. And in fact, they did that during Series 5. Everything kind of built up with the cracks and such. That was well integrated. That was something that built up, but the episodes didn't revolve around that. When they started to have episodes that revolve around an overarching plot, it really, really hinders the quality of everything else.
Yeah.
Especially when most of those stories are being written by one writer.
I think the best episodes of Series 6, so The Doctor's Wife, Night Terrors, God Complex, and The Girl Who Waited, are all good episodes because they're not connected to the overarching plot.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Every other story is a bit either I mean, the opening two-parters are alright, but The Rebel Flesh and Almost People, I hate that one.
They really wanted the silence to be this big, huge monster that people would come back and remember. And I think by the end of this season, with how they didn't really resolve that they were hoping to have them as a consistent returning villain. They were hoping they'd be the Weeping Angels 2.0, basically, I think. Yeah. And it didn't work, because they weren't really memorable. They were memorable, but they weren't memorable. They
just weren't...
I don't know how to quite describe them, yeah.
They weren't as scary. Because the problem is with the Weeping Angels, it's scary what doesn't move. I think the problem was they revealed the silence in light locations. If they had them in the dark, they would have been a whole lot more scary.
Yeah. And they tried to repeat the trick over and over again throughout Moffat's era. Now, speaking of that, I guess moving on to the quality of the scripts themselves, so in terms of what Moffat wrote, the 11th, throughout most of, his writing in Series 5 was probably the weakest part of Series 5. The episodes which he didn't write were honestly the better ones for that series, let's be honest. With the possible exception of 11th Hour, a little hit and miss with that one. But
I like 11th Hour.
Yeah, well, no, that's what I'm saying. That one's probably the best.
Time of Angels is alright, but it's Flesh and Stone, which it lost its way.
Yeah.
Time of Angels was good.
Time of Angels was okay, yeah. But,
And I quite like the Pandorica Opens.
Yeah. But, I think
he lost his way.
You continue to see, and this will continue pretty much up until the 50th anniversary, I'd say. But every time you'd find the Moffat script, more likely than not, it was going to be either mediocre or bad. That was what the expectation of a Moffat script you going into was. And that's really poor show for a head writer. I think generally the reason for that was just because he has to rush them. He has to write 4-5 stories per series, and it's like
he was trying to write too many.
He didn't have a script editor in order to filter what he was writing, because he sacked it after Series 5, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
So he had no filter. He was king god at everything, and he just put out whatever he wrote was right, basically. And it didn't work like that. It didn't really end up going well, because every story he wrote, it just ended up being mediocre, basically. And it's like he fed himself too thin. He had nobody watching over him, and it felt like a lot of his stories were kind of half ideas. Like he didn't really get the time to flesh them out, really. Basically.
Yeah, like Russell T, the most he wrote in the season was 8, and that was for the first season. But that's because he had loads of time to work on it.
He had several years.
And Russell T is the skill, from what I've been reading, of his first draft that he usually sends in is almost perfect. He's just really a very special writer, and even Moffat said he can't do that.
No.
But then why try? And then after that, Russell never wrote any more than 5 a season. But already, I think in Moffat's first, he wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then he had to write the Christmas special. Then he wrote for Series 6, he wrote 2, 3, 4. He only wrote 5.
Yeah.
But then I think for Rebel Flesh and Almost People, he was telling Matthew Graham what to write, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of thinking about like series 6 and 7. It's kind of almost like thinking about the Dark Ages in a way of modern Doctor Who. You know, because I remember that when. I mean, even
When
I think we were talking. Yeah,
we were talking. We
at that
started
point, yeah.
discussing Doctor Who Year 5, Series 5 as when we became friends. Because I remember we were speculating. I remember even back then I was talking about the Ice Warriors return, and that took 3 years later. It's like.
Yeah, well, that was kind of an obvious choice because they were.
Yeah,
they were popular
Series 6
enough.
had nothing returning, and then Series 7 did with the
But
Ice Warriors.
it had a real doom and gloom feel about the show. I think a lot of people.
Well, it's because we'd had the series split, which everyone hated anyway. And then it was, oh yeah, you're only going to get 5 episodes in 2012. 2012 killed Doctor Who. End of a world, they said. It was end of Doctor Who world, that was it. That's what happened. Because then what did we get? We got Asylum of the Daleks kicking off the series, which was just trash. And the Christmas special had been The Doctor, the Widow and the Wardrobe. So you had... So you had Closing Time, which isn't great. The Wedding River Song, which isn't great. The Doctor, the Widow and the Wardrobe, which isn't great. And then Asylum of the Daleks, which isn't great. That's 4 bad episodes in a row. And then a lot of people don't like Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. So that's 5.
Yeah.
So that's not great in a row.
And then even... What was the story after that? That was...
A Town Called Mercy, which quite a lot of people liked.
Yeah, admittedly, yeah. Yeah, that was a good story. But, like, that really...
That's not good, having 5 bad episodes in a row, though.
Yeah, that was... That was a dark time. That was a dark time, you know. Again, like, yeah, it wasn't just Nick I was talking to. I was talking to a fair amount of people about Doctor Who at the time, and it was just... Everyone else I talked to was getting out of it or kind of a bit air on it, you know. And heck, you know, I remember this was about the era. I think there was a lot of Series 7 Part 1 that I actually missed on its first broadcast just because I forgot. That doesn't happen. I just didn't think about it, and I just ended up catching them a bit later on BBC iPlayer. But, you know, I just became a bit disinterested.
I think the worst thing was there were 5 Saturdays in September. So Doctor Who was over in a month. Because it was September 1st, 8th, 15th, 22nd, 29th, and then Doctor Who was done. We had Doctor Who for 1 month.
Yeah.
That sounds even shorter. Like, if Doctor Who'd gone over at least 2 months, it would have felt like, oh yeah, at least we got Doctor Who for September, October. It just sounds longer already. Like, psychologically, it feels shorter as well. And, like, it's just rubbish having 5 episodes.
Just waiting.
The only good thing was when Clara turned up in Asylum of the Daleks. Now that was interesting.
Yeah,
that went nowhere. But I remember back in Series 7 was when I wanted Moffat to leave after the 50th, actually.
Yeah, and I think he was thinking about it, wasn't he? I mean, probably throughout. Like, it's difficult to determine when it's a good time to leave, but you know. Maybe when the show isn't going so well, it might be best to pass it on to fresh blood. But you know, Moffat knows best. You know, I mean, yeah. No, these were dark days for us as fans. But you know, there was always kind of a light of hope in the back of all our minds because you know we all knew that the 50th was on the way.
Yeah,
there was always a bit of excitement. I mean, we were speculating it probably.
Every day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I was getting excited for it as far back as the 45th. Well, when they did around when they did Time Crash.
So I didn't really think about the 50th until about before Series 7. It was about before Series 7 I really started to get... That was the time I was really getting into Classic Who, like kind of then and a bit before. Yeah. I was getting a lot into it again, like, oh my god, oh my god.
I think...
Because everyone was like, David's going to come back, David's going to come back.
I was anticipating it because I remember at the time, like as a young kid, I drew Doctor Who comics in my spare time. None of them are very good at all. Might be fun to laugh at some point, but I started making one for the 50th. I put a heck of a ton of pictures, made a sparkly front cover and everything. I wrote it for the 50th. I was going to write it for the 50th anniversary. Like, I had it all ready, like, years and years in advance. Well, for a story this big and ambitious, you know, it's going to take me years. Like, I know it's not going to be done. I even updated the cover to say 52nd when I didn't make that, but I just gave up on that idea entirely.
Never told me that one. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think I wrote like 2 pages of that, I think, entirely.
That was interesting because I remember we came back for Series 7 Part 2 and we were a lot more... Like, Basil St. John was actually okay.
Yeah, we were
as
surprised.
An opener.
Like, a good Moffat script was like...
I remember us being generally surprised.
We were blown away. Like, he's actually writing something half decent. I mean, the villains sucked in that episode, but at least it was the dialogue was good. The dialogue was actually Moffat, as we wanted him to be.
Yeah, because I remember us saying, okay, yeah, when was the last good Moffat script? We had to look back, and then we were arguing Impossible Astronauts, Day of the Moon, which means then. There'd been Good Man Goes to War. Okay, Good Man Goes to War. No, actually, on hindsight, it's just meh.
Yeah, it's
unless
not
you're watching it in the season. But
well, even then, it's not.
The
that
problem
great.
with them is you can't go back and just watch them individually because they feel out of place if you do.
Yeah. No.
That's the issue. Doctor Who, every story needs to be you could just hop in whenever you like and it's okay.
Yeah. I mean that was.
Good...
I'd imagine that was also probably a kind of a hindrance for kids because like kids don't know about the series. Kids just jump in whenever. So if they jump in whenever, and they're completely confused about what they're watching,
it's arc heavy.
Yeah, I mean if you jumped in at any point in the Russell T. Davies era,
it would be fine. Like,
yeah,
even like Bad Wolf and Parting of the Ways, you could jump in on and it would still work.
Yeah, not as well, but it would work.
You could still do it.
You could, and a lot of times people jumped in at Christmas specials, actually, especially. But that when you see something like the Snowmen, that doesn't work there either.
Yeah, because then that was plot heavy on the Asylum of the Daleks already. Kind of. It was pretty plot heavy.
I mean, his direction for a show like this is just...
But yeah.
Didn't work.
And then we had Rings of Akaten, which was like, that split the fan base. And then Cold War was kind of okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think we really liked it at the time. I remember we were like...
Cold War.
Yeah, we loved it at the time.
Then Hyde, Journey, Centre of Vitalis are both meh. And it's the problem is when you have 2 meh in a row, that's when it's a hindrance. Because then people are not looking forward to the week after. Crimson Horror was actually good. Nightmare on Silver was then And then Name of a Doctor was better on reflection. Name of a Doctor. It's better when you go back.
Well, I still don't think...
It's still not great, but I don't hate it as much as I did for...
Yeah. I was incredibly harsh on it for the review, although I did go back and go, it's slightly better than what I said.
I think I gave it a 4 maybe. I can't remember.
Yeah, I upped it a bit just because in retrospect I was
2 to 3 or something. I think
2 to 3, maybe 4.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I was a little harsh on it, but still like we were excited more for what was coming out. Like I think these episodes we were disinterested, I guess, a little bit because everyone was thinking about the 50th.
Yeah.
No one was thinking about Series 7.
The best thing about Name of a Doctor was that opening scene, though, where Clara was seeing all the classic Doctors.
The ending scene.
That was really good, and the ending scene. I loved it. When all the classic Doctors were showing up, that made me really happy.
Of course.
But yeah. And then it was on to the 50th.
Yeah. The big year.
See, I'm not sure. They played it smart in 2 ways. Either, like, they didn't do enough marketing, as in they didn't start soon enough. Because I think the first trailer for the 50th didn't come out until, like, October.
Well, no, not for the 50th itself. Well, for the special itself, but for the 50th as a whole, it was a massive thing. Like, they had stuff for there was tons of marketing, lots and lots of merchandising. They had, like, the stamps for it.
I've got the stamps.
Yeah, you got a lot of them, but they were, like, properly used, like, stamps with Doctor Who on it. It was all over the papers, all over the internet, everywhere. It was a huge thing. It was getting cinema releases, and I mean, the actual special didn't get quite as much build up. The 50th event as a whole certainly did, which kind of built up the special itself, because of course people knew that was going to be happening.
Yeah.
So, they did it smartly, I think. I think they did it just right. They didn't need to show too much of the special itself, because the big selling point was the fact it was the 50th anniversary of a long-running TV series.
Yeah, I mean, so the first trailer which dropped was on October 19th, which was that really cool one, which started with the policeman. You remember, it was like lots of fragments.
Yeah,
it was like frozen in time.
But that wasn't even really a that wasn't really a
like
trailer for the
50th.
special. It was a trailer for the 50th event itself.
Yeah,
I guess,
it was so good. I loved it though. It was amazing. Oh, it was such a good trailer. And it had the No More in it, which was really cool at one point. I loved it when it does the 3D spin of the Fourth Doctor. That was a really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the little hidden No More bit. There were Pertwee's eyebrows look really weird in the trailer, but yeah, apart from that, it's amazing. I love it. Da, 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 da. And it had the War Doctor looking towards, like, his back towards the screen. And Matt Smith clearly in the wig though.
Yep.
At that point. Yeah, it's a pretty good wig though, but yeah.
It is.
Don't know why you'd take a part where you'd have to shave your head, but oh well. And that film didn't even get released in cinemas in the end. It was a bit...
Did it not?
A bit awkward, yeah.
Huh.
But yeah, so that was the first one which came out on October 19th, and the next trailer came out November 9th, which I feel is cutting it close in my opinion, but it looked awesome.
I mean, you just need to build it up on TV really at that point. And...
I mean, basically the first 10 seconds of the Time War, which was pretty exciting. You know, John Hurt, what a great actor, and then David Tennant and Matt Smith on screen. You know,
certainly,
it ticks all the boxes, you know, for what you'd want in an anniversary special.
And for us, you know, we were hyped as all heck.
Oh, and then the Zygons, of course.
Yeah, the Zygons.
That was amazing.
Because, of course, you know, David Tennant was really advocating for them to return, and, you know...
Yeah.
He got his wish, and he got to appear with them, so that was really nice for him. I think probably his favourite monster, wasn't it?
Yeah, when did that... That got announced in April. April 2nd, the Zygons got announced for 50th, so people were excited about that anyway. Especially as the costume was really close to what it was before.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't quite as much of a baby face Zygons. They're more threatening.
They had like the
bit more scary, as opposed to
a bit more of a frown. So that was really epic, and I mean, the 50th was just a grand event.
Yeah. I mean, we plan to talk about this more at the end of this year because it will soon be 5 years to it, so we'll have
be the 55th anniversary.
Yeah, we plan reviews of all the various components and discussion of what we were doing on that day, which was interesting in itself because we went to this big 50th anniversary event in London.
But more on that later.
Yeah, a bit more on that later.
So I remember coming back from watching the 50th in the cinema, and they'd released the Time of a Doctor trailer. I remember we looked at it, and we were a bit like,
compared to what we just watched. Yeah. But we also watched the 5-ish Doctors alongside that. So
the 5-ish Doctors. My mum was like, you were laughing so hard last night.
Yeah.
Like, because that was on late. Oh, it was so funny.
It was.
That's probably... Adventure in Space and Time. That was a great thing, but that wasn't really
I keep using... If you notice in my edits, whenever I'm talking about Moffat messing up, I keep using the picture of him with the two figures. It does kind of feel like that sometimes. But... Like, I know not every fan would agree, but I think he really did a good job with the 50th. I mean, this is what Moffat does when he can actually focus on one episode.
One episode, yeah.
As opposed to focus...
contained episode.
Yeah, he had a long time to think and work on one story. He had a proper idea. He talked about it, you know, with multiple sources, including Russell T, about how they were going to handle the Time War. And so I think the end result which we got properly reflects that. You know, this was very much a make or break moment for us for Moffat, though. I think we were kind of like, you know,
it was high pressure, yeah.
Yeah. If he messed it up.
And the Time of a Doctor, which was just wrapping up all the points of the Matt Smith era, because
very hastily. The silence were there for 5 seconds.
Yeah, a branch broke off and blah, blah. It was just if it's explained away in a single line.
That as someone who was trying actively to pay attention to all the plot points, I was so confused when they were wandering out fighting with the Doctor. I was just like, what? When did that happen?
Yeah,
that wasn't anywhere. Why are they working with the Doctor? What? I thought he was dead anyway. What the universe when he was dead?
It wasn't, thinking back, it wasn't the 50th which renewed my faith in Moffat. It was Night of the Doctor, which saved. Do you remember when
but that was such
I remember
a
you
short...
didn't even realise it got released. I came in the next
No.
day. I was like, "Did you see it?" And you were like, "No." I was like, "What?" I watched it. I think I watched it about 7 times. I love the 8th Doctor so much.
I think I just went to bed early that night.
Man.
But
I was on the toilet taking a number 2 when I was on my phone, just the usual on your phone scrolling as you go to the toilet, and like it popped out. It was like Paul McGann returns to Doctor. I was like,
God. Nah, but I wasn't focused on that at that point. It was hype seeing it. I wasn't. I didn't have my faith restored in Moffat at that point though, because I mean, as good as it was fairly short.
it was half restored. I mean, he did it at least. He fixed. That's one.
I remember I talked to you in the cinema. I was just like, my face is entirely gone with Moffat if this goes wrong.
Yeah, I do remember that actually.
Yeah, I did. I told you that specifically, and immediately after, I was just like,
Faith restored.
faith restored, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and then in came Capaldi. And
Yeah, I remember the build to this was a little less. I mean, because it was.
I thought it was weak.
Well, yeah, because the thing about it is that Capaldi's name. I mean, there was a few weeks of speculation, and then Capaldi's name got thrown out there, and then
This was in August.
it was just
of
immediately
2013.
came to the top of the bettings. They suspended the bettings, and it was just like. When it was revealed, it was just like it wasn't exactly a shock at that point because everyone had built it up as such.
Yeah, I remember that was August. Oh, when it was No Sir Rule 13, that was a really cool moment.
Yeah.
That was great.
But yeah, no, Capaldi's reveal. I mean, I was very happy with him being the Doctor. I mean,
Oh yeah, no. And then Series 8 kind of was sucky. Good thing.
I'd still say it was better than 7 and 6 as a whole.
Yeah, no, I could agree. Lots of self-contained episodes. Time Heist is good. Into the Daleks good. A Mummy and on the Orient Express and Flatline.
Yeah, no, there's some really strong points to this series, and I think After the 50th was generally positively received, even by most sides of the fan base. I think he might have got a bit of his confidence back as a whole.
Yeah.
Not that his stories are necessarily always the strongest point of the series, except for maybe the series after this, but, I mean, it doesn't feel like now that he's the weak link in all this anymore. From kind of Series 8 onwards, I think.
Yeah, he didn't feel... No, definitely didn't.
Not that I like all of his stories, but... It didn't feel... You weren't going into a story expecting it to be bad.
No, we were like, okay. I mean, Deep Breath was pretty good, actually. It's just a bit long.
I wasn't fond of it, but...
I'll
talk about it later, but...
There's a few really good scenes, though.
Yeah,
I think every scene where Capaldi's in it's really good, but
it's just kind of forgettable to me. That one. I mean, the clock.
True.
Bringing back the clockwork robot things were good. So that was a good
That was nice, yeah.
return, but yeah, it was fairly forgettable to me.
And Series 9.
And I mean, it actually, in this whole series, he basically kind of wrote by himself. He only kind of did 3 stories as such, although he did collabs and then the Dark Water, Death in Heaven, of course, being 2 parts, but it's kind of a one contained story. But I think he certainly stretched himself a lot less after series, after the 50th, I think, which I think helped his quality of scripts and also gave a few more writers opportunities, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. But one thing I don't like is the time of the year it was set at. In the August to November, it clashes with Strictly.
Yeah, I don't think that's his fault, though. That's
not his fault, though.
That's a BBC issue, really.
That will happen again this year unless the rumours are true that they're going to put it on Sunday to dodge that clash. So Doctor Who's at a more child-friendly viewing time.
could.
And to be honest, it being on a Sunday could really help with in especially the younger years, because kids will go back the next day to school and more likely be talking about it, because it would be the last thing on their minds, kind of Sunday evening.
I can see that.
So from a marketing aspect, I think it would be pretty good. And
Yeah.
less people go out on Sunday night because they know that they've got work or school the next day. So, I mean, I think it being on Sunday is not exactly bad.
I really do think it's important that we...
Because I don't think Saturday night television is something which a lot of people do anymore.
No, I disagree, but
Really
they're watching stuff like Strictly, or, you know...
It's in the older demographic, the Saturday night watching now. Kids don't watch the Saturday night stuff anymore.
That's true, because they just... Yeah, they kind of think of it as old people stuff. That is true. Or there is some family entertainment that they tend to be on ITV, not BBC.
Yeah, but I just don't think there's anything on Sunday, like, really, like, people go, oh yeah, I'm going to watch that every Sunday. But if, like, Doctor Who goes on it, it would be, like, the standout show on the day.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Anyway, Moffat era, so...
Yeah, well, it's kind of relatable.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a bit related.
If they'd done that move as well on the Sunday...
Yeah,
But,
I mean, I think it's just a case of tradition. I think they want to keep it on, because like the last time they moved it off Saturday was when they moved it to a Tuesday, and that didn't work.
But it's weird. They originally were going to have a split for Series 8 between Kill the Moon and Mummy on the Orient Express. It made sense because remember, Kill the Moon, she was like, "I'm never going to travel with the Doctor again," and then Mummy on the Orient Express feels like, okay, one last trip.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It felt like there should have been a break between it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad they kind of got that sorted out, though, in any case, even if that wasn't... But yeah, that makes sense, because it kind of felt... that plot point kind of felt half-arsed, really.
Yeah.
Then again, Clara almost leaving
Clara
seems like...
leaving, and Last Christmas where Clara was going to leave... And then freaking hell-bent when she was going to leave.
Well, firstly, Last Christmas would have been a perfect ending. Like, you just leave her as an old lady. That would have been a very nice ending to a story, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think especially Capaldi was kind of desperate not to let her leave, which, you know...
Bit weird for a professional actor, not going to lie.
Yeah, but I think...
If they got on, though, you know.
Yeah, I guess that makes somewhat sense.
Yeah, but I'm sure he got on with Pearl Mackie as well.
Yeah, but we didn't know at this point, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going anyway.
Series 9 I thought was a step up.
Yes, no, I think
Lots
for me this...
Passes.
Yeah, no, this was a huge step up over everything else. This was... I might even say I prefer this over Series 5 as a whole, because there's so many good stories in here. I mean, the worst it usually gets for most of the series is kind of a bit meh. I think that's probably
The Woman Who Lived and the Sleep No More.
Yeah.
And
Hellbent. No, I was just going to get to that. For the most part, that it kind of gets the meh as the worst, but that's kind of a minority. With the exception of Hellbent, which is dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. Actually, this season had consistency, and the two-part setup I think worked really well. As much as I know when talking to some people, they kind of found it a bit boring having kind of the same setting week on kind of 2 weeks in a row. But I think it helped to develop stories a lot better. I think, of course, the more time you get, the more chance you're going to get to tell your story better. And
I remember finding it a bit too much. The too many two-parters. I think the way, like, I remember when The Girl Who Died came along, I found that really refreshing. Just one self-contained episode. Because I remember two-parters are the length of what used to be the 4 episodes. So it's the length of a movie.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I think...
I remember when I watched Under the Lake and Before the Flood the first time, I actually really wasn't a fan of that story. But in hindsight now, I really like it.
I think especially Under the Lake I really did enjoy, even on my first watch. I enjoyed it a lot. Zygon Inversion and Invasion were really highlights mine. Well, and Heaven's Sent, I guess. But
Heaven's Sent was something.
That does disagree with the crop, but Zygon Inversion and Invasion, they were great. Like that was, I said it before that I really do kind of like when Doctor Who. I mean, I know new series is going to go for a more on the nose kind of way of doing things a bit more when
They're
they go
gonna
to
go to,
historical
like,
setting.
yeah.
But I do like it when they use monsters and
Aliens,
such as a metaphor, as a way to show off and to kind of get a point across from a different view. And that's a very classic Doctor Who thing to do. Like the Silurians and such, especially throughout. Mainly, that was a very John Pertwee thing, should I say? More so, that was a very John Pertwee-esque idea, and they used it to great effect in this story.
I mean, the 10-minute speech is amazing.
Just everything up to that point. I mean, the kind of commentary on extremism and all that, within this, it's well done, it's well integrated, and, it's just a great story as a whole. Like, I think it's really is, like, one of the very standout moments of the Capaldi era as a whole.
I really like the twist, actually, isn't there? The cliffhanger's really good, actually.
Yeah.
No, I need to watch that story again, actually. I really feel like watching that one again now. Because I don't remember too much about it, but I remember enjoying it, which is kind of good. That's when I want to watch a story where I can't remember it.
You should. It's a really good one.
And Series 10, which was pretty bloody good, actually.
I just want to say before that, because we kind of got Husbands of River Song and kind of the same block.
And then the year gap, that was so annoying.
Yeah, well, I mean, after Heaven Hellbent was kind of...
We wanted Moffat to leave.
we wanted Moffat to leave. I mean, Heaven Sent was amazing, but, I mean, I don't think Hellbent ruins the series in any way, but it's really bad. Like, it was really big disappointment, especially with how the trailers build it up as more of a fight between the Doctor and Rashalon, and, we had all these wild ideas about how the Doctor might have to storm through Gallifrey, and, there's going to be a lot more to the Gallifrey aspect of it, because he's home, he's made it, he's back, do something with it, but, and it's... Moffat decided not to. I mean, in a recent interview he was talking about it a bit, because he was saying, like, we were planning to do, like, a whole arc with a series with that, but there wasn't a lot we could do with it.
Like you open the cupboard, well, no, it's not there, carry on.
Well, fine. Whatever. Don't do a series with it. But when you get there, make it something. Make it a bit... It's a big deal. He's home. It's a place which he thought was destroyed. The place where he so passionately talked and was angry about it in, like, the 9th and 10th Doctor era. And the bit which he was so triumphantly happy about getting back in the 50th. And he gets there and he's just miserable. And just leaves with to get Clara. It's just... It feels so underwhelming. It feels such a disappointing end to that whole plot point. And we haven't seen Gallifrey since, so it's just like... Real waste. A real waste. Which, left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And, when they announced Husbands of River Song, it wasn't any better.
Yeah,
because, we were convinced... the ending which they gave River Song in Name of the Doctor was perfect, basically. At least to us at the time.
Yeah.
So we were... In fact, as we mentioned a couple of times, we did record something which was like, well, this shouldn't happen, basically, more or less.
So it was it rounded off. It was a rounded ending.
Yeah.
But no, Husbands of the River Song was actually
turned out good, yeah.
But the problem is then there was nothing in 2016, which, I mean, the show's already at a sensitive point. Why the hell are you not having a year with no series?
Wasn't Moffat doing other things, wasn't he?
Yeah, well then leave the show.
Yeah, basically. I mean, if he was only going to do one more series, yeah, he should have left at the end of Hellbent. I think that probably would have been most optimal.
Exactly.
But with that being said,
Series 10 was really good.
Really good, yeah. This is honestly my favourite of any of Moffat's series. Yeah, this. It's just kept the consistency going throughout. And, unlike the problem with the last series, it didn't ruin the ending. It actually had a really good, final story to it.
Dr. Falls was actually pretty... I know, World Enough in Time is, perfect.
Yeah.
Dr. Falls is still very good.
Very good. Not as good, but it's still very good.
Very good.
Yeah, no, I mean, I minus Knock Knock and maybe Lie the Land I didn't like either. But, the quality of episodes here... was consistently high, and I really came to like all the characters who, because we knew Moffat was leaving and at some point we found out Capaldi was leaving, and that all of these characters were going to be leaving too. They could have just been kind of throwaway. They could have been anybody, because they were just here for a season and going.
Yeah.
With the intention of that, but the fact that they had Bill in twice enough in time, and the general popularity of it, I think, kind of proves that they. There was definitely something to these characters that we really liked, and it's almost a shame that we're not seeing more of them. But
I'm
I suppose
sad we're not going to see Nardole anymore. I really like Nardole.
Both of them, I'm sad we're not going to be seeing. But
thing is, it's good to leave them like.
They left him in a good way. Yeah, they left him in a good way.
At least they could never be tinted or anything, or made worse.
Yeah, and the only way they could have even justifiably been brought back for the next season would be if Capaldi also was continuing, but he's obviously not.
Yeah, to be honest, like the way they brought back like Pearl Mackie and Nardole in Twice Upon a Time made sense,
Nardole especially,
through testimony, it did actually work. Twice Upon a Time, the more I think about it, the more I actually dislike it a lot.
Yeah,
it was just pointless. It was a pointless episode.
I think,
the Doctor wasn't needed in it. Testimony wasn't doing anything wrong, so it was just pointless. It was 60 minutes of filler.
Yeah, with overtones of disrespectfulness to the classic series.
Well, I'm trying to make it funny, but just not.
LOL 60s.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, with that being said, it's. I mean, he should have left the season earlier, but we
got Series 10, but he should have left
Series
after
10
the
because
Doctor
of it.
Falls. But then that was.
That was Chris Chibnall.
Yeah, but then Moffat didn't.
He kind of half.
Stay.
He could have got another writer on that. You're right, but he.
No, he just didn't want them to lose the Christmas slot. But I mean, it's Doctor Who. I doubt they were going to lose the Christmas slot if they missed 1 year of it.
No.
To be honest, a rest from Doctor Who on Christmas might have been better than.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't do it in the classic era, and it still did perfectly fine.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of. I mean, yeah, it's fine. Okay, you got the Christmas shot, but you really half-assed it. I think, really, kind of. Yeah, I didn't.
Just grabbing my cup of tea.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I was just for a moment.
But yeah, no, it felt like he'd finished with the Doctor Falls. That was very it felt like a complete thing. I mean, the Doctor literally was in the TARDIS ready to regenerate.
Yeah.
That you could see the scene ending there, and then it go into the speech that he has in Twice Upon a Time.
Yes. I wonder if there's been an edit like that.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Just forget it happens twice upon a time.
Twice Upon a Time never happened. Well, it doesn't really. It doesn't add anything. So there's. Yeah.
You could really just not have it. Literally. Nothing changes.
But yeah.
And it was weird bringing back Rusty the Dalek. That was a bit of an odd choice.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was. Oh, wow.
But also, I thought the marketing for Series 10 was actually a lot better.
Better.
With the really cool trailer when they're going in through the library and it's all exploding and lightning-y. That was really cool.
It was.
And then it had like the kind of cloud coming towards, and that was really epic.
Don't think it helped on viewing figures, though.
Maybe it did a bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for example, Eaters of Light got 4.73 million.
Oh, yeah, it's funny. Poor Rona. She had the lowest viewed Doctor Who story in the classic era.
Yeah, and now
in
news in the
all time, she's still at the bottom.
Yeah.
Poor Rona. And Larderland bad.
Larderland did pretty poorly as well, too.
I think Saigon was on that day as well. I think, FA Cup final or something?
Yeah. But this is total. I mean, because, you would have expected the iPlayer views to bring it up a bit, but, it's still very... The audience is really, like... The only saving grace is that I think people are slightly more interested now, because, actually, Twice Upon a Time had a slight increase in views over Return of the Doctor and Mysterio.
Everyone was waiting for the last minute.
Basically, really. Yeah. So, maybe...
And it was maybe that last minute is actually incredibly good.
Yeah, well...
It's the only part of Twice Upon a Time I'm going to watch, really.
Yeah. We'll see how the views translate to the next series, but,
We need to see some material first.
So, yeah. I mean, as a whole, the era, it's so much of a mixed bag, isn't it?
Lows. Yeah, it really is a mix, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's weird to look back on. I can remember I was complaining a lot.
It kind of feels like an era of two halves. So it like kind of starts off pretty okay,
then
dives, and then like it's
rises.
only when Moffat stops trying to reinvent the wheel does it start to become good again. Basically,
what I find really weird is like they were doing series 10 as if it was like brand new, like it was Rose all over. You know, this was the first. This was a reboot. But why do that if you're planning on leaving after the end of this season?
Maybe because tonally there's going to be a couple of few similarities between this and the next, perhaps. Because Moffat probably... Well, of course he was going to be leaving. I think he probably, by the time he's probably even started writing the series, he was kind of convinced on leaving. But, you know, maybe... I mean, I don't know how much he talked about Chris Chibnall throughout that series, but maybe it's going to be a bit similar in some ways. Maybe there's going to be some... I don't know. I
think the one thing I get a bit sad about is we've lost an episode per season now. We're down to 12, and now we're going down to 10.
Yeah.
Which is like... At least with 13, if you had a few bad, you'd have hopefully a lot of good. But when you have less episodes, you have more of a chance of there being... You know, a higher bad to good ratio.
But at the same time, you could argue that you also have more budget in each and potentially more effort put in each for the higher quality.
It's a double, bladed.
Yeah, it's risky. Knife. It's risky, isn't it? I mean, if
double-edged sword. That's the word.
Yeah, double-edged sword, pretty much.
So so I mean, it means if you have a bad one, it sticks out a bit more.
Yeah,
but. Hopefully it's a good opener.
Though it also makes it worse if you got more bad than good. Like at least one or two Moffat seasons did. Well, six.
Six is notoriously, I think, one of the worst seasons actually out there.
Yeah, I think the issue with that was that they really, really pushed the American kind of market for that
it was like
one.
Kissing their ass. No offense to American listeners, we love it. And it's nice filming in America, but it's every time they it.
That whole. Actually, yeah, that's the thing about it. The reason why they structured it, it's kind of the whole overarching story with complicated things. It feels very American in terms of how they actually structured it. You know, Doctor Who is fundamentally a very British show,
and that's why Americans
has been structured that way since. Well, I mean, it's always been kind of structured that way. So when you try to turn a British show with British makers into an American show, trying to emulate that, it's not going to go out well, is it?
No. Yeah, it did backfire, but then they got it right. No big arcs. I mean, Series 10 was wonderful. No arcs at all. No, the only kind of arc thing was the blind, really, for a few episodes. That was good.
Yeah.
And the Vault. See, it was the Vault to being blind, and then just a few adventures, then the Master. That was wonderful. Yeah, the Vault was a bit disappointing that it was just Missy. I mean, it was a bit like, oh, really? Okay.
Well, yeah, because people kind of called that beforehand.
Yeah. I mean, even we kind of had a general idea. But I mean, they explained it well in Extremis. I enjoy the opening to Extremis where it's explained.
Yeah.
Or is it Pyramid at the End of the World? Can't remember. But it's decent. It's fun. But yeah. I kind of want to get the box set for Series 10, just so I can rewatch the season, because I did Smile, even though it's one of the weaker ones, it's still actually quite enjoyable.
Yeah,
I remember being surprised when watching it that I actually enjoyed it quite a bit.
Not bad at all.
And I enjoyed it up to, it's about the 35-minute mark, or 27 minutes, I think, and it gets a bit slow for about 7 minutes, and it picks up again. But actually, it's really enjoyable. The first kind of 20 minutes is actually really enjoyable television.
It's not bad at all.
But I guess what the new era could learn from it is don't have splits in the season. It really damages it. Market it a lot.
Yeah, make sure kids are.
Yeah, it's got to be big on social media, and it's got to. I think they should advertise it on CBBC as well. I know it's a BBC show, but why can't BBC advertise on CBBC?
Yeah, well, I mean,
I'm
it's a bit tricky.
I'm pretty sure BBC Two programs get advertised on BBC One.
Sometimes, actually, other channels did get shown advertised on CBBC. It's only when like it was kind of catered a bit more to their audience, I guess. Or
yeah. But I really think that so it's work on the marketing.
Yeah, work on the marketing. I think no big story arcs like Series 6 or anything.
Yeah, the Bad Wolf kind of story arc is the best kind of story arc. That's the best. That's the best one to this day. Or the Vote Saxon, really subtle.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be in your face.
I mean, I'd say, because we were discussing this the other day, there wasn't really too many standout monsters that would like be suitable for a return.
Marketable monsters.
Yeah, more memorable, interesting monsters.
Colourful. I think the problem is they've not been having a lot of colour. The good thing about the Ice Warriors is they have a really good, red eyes, green suit. Yeah, they look like you could have action figures of them.
Really distinctive designs.
I know, it's bad always designing for an action figure, but if your monster doesn't need to look really specific, then make it so it's like, would this look good as an action figure? You got to be thinking marketing at the same time.
Yeah, a bit.
Would
both.
this look good on a poster? Weeping Angels are perfect.
Design
is perfect.
Not that every decision should be catered to that.
No,
art
keep
first.
it in mind.
Art first. Don't quite want the Star Wars situation here.
It's like the Eaters of Light creature. I don't know, it just looked a bit goofy.
You could have done something with that more interesting.
Yeah, but it's like the werewolf, things that people could have action, using the bugs and animals and making them into the Jadoon.
Well, no, I think more the case of what can be continued, what can be brought back. I guess
Jadoon were great creatures. They were definitely the Space Police were really cool.
What are distinct?
They got brought back, didn't they?
A few times.
The lady did from the Shadow Proclamation in The Magician's Apprentice.
Yeah.
That was really cool, but I think Jadoon were one of the best. New Who. And the Ood are really good. Distinctive. Ood are really distinctive.
Yeah, but then, of course, again, that brings up the issue. All of those are Russell T. I mean, the one which had the biggest potential to be a distinctive design like that were the Smilers, and they were done really so poorly that there's no chance they'd ever come back.
Yeah, and the problem is with the monks, all of them look different, so it's like you could make it.
Yeah, well, I mean, they don't, and the monks.
They were just a bit boring.
The monks, and a few other monsters. They all kind of followed a very similar mold. The Silence started, where it's kind of quiet and weird, over the top movements and kind of blank faces, basically.
Yeah, I think
there are several monsters, very like the Whisper Men, or stuff like that.
To do with the mouths. I think you need monsters which actually speak and use their words, which makes them more iconic. The only time that it worked was the statues, because you don't see them move, so why should you hear them talk?
Yeah.
That I think, and that's the problem. They were like, oh, if they don't talk, they're more creepy.
Yeah, but they kept using the same mould over and over again.
Yeah.
It's like they were trying to...
Like something like the Teller. Now that was an awesome creature. That one stands out to me. Yeah. And the Clockwork Droid from Deep Breath. When I say the Deep Breath, you think of that Clockwork guy because he was distinctive.
Yeah.
With the half
Although,
face.
of course, that was also a Russell T Davies creation.
It was made by Moffat, though.
True.
Gun in the fireplace, to be fair. But the design, you see, they were really distinctive. You can remember them.
I mean, that's the
thing. And people still dress up as those Clockwork Droids to this day.
And Moffat's other creations, that's the thing. Mask. It's so weird because, all of his other creations before he became head writer are all so distinctive and memorable. The Empty Child.
He took inspiration from things around his life, but the problem is when you have to write so many, you can only have so many inspirations. Yeah. He was inspired to write one story by one thing that happens in his life. It's like a thing of 6 inspirations right now, which you could write monster stories for. I couldn't come up with that in the time while having to concentrate on writing them as well. I could probably come up with the idea, but, it's the time to develop them. You've got to then do first draft, second draft. So he was having to rush them, and that's why I think most of his villains kind of sucked after a while, or he didn't have villains at all. Enough on is bring back a classic villain. That always gets a bit of a buzz.
I think we're kind of reaching a stage where there isn't too many more that...
Worth.
Yeah, I mean, I really want the Yeti. I think quite a few people want the Yeti back. I think yeah, we can almost start bringing back older
More
New Who
obscure.
monster.
Oh yeah,
Because we haven't seen a proper Sontaran story in a long time.
Since
for
series
example,
4.
yeah. So we could see that again.
Rutons would be worth it, I think.
Yeah, alongside them, yeah.
Shape shifting, so that wouldn't
Yeah,
be too
I mean,
bad.
the only other appearance of that recently was that they were in a Doctor Who adventure game alongside the Sontarans.
That's about it.
What others? I mean, we're kind of reaching a stage where there isn't too many, or the most memorable ones are the ones which you don't want to bring back. Particularly if we look at like Tom Baker and such, you don't want to bring most of those back because they're too memorable and like
They worked on their own. Like I wouldn't want Sutek back.
Sutek, probably not Morbius, even though I did say for the monsters to bring back. Although, if they did them right, that'd be cool.
I think probably a cool one would be Omega. I think that could be a really good finale one.
Yeah.
I would
maybe.
like a new Who version. Could you imagine? I think if they made it really cinematic, I think it'd be pretty dramatic. If they have a pretty... I think what they should do... The problem is when you have lots of dark episodes, the dark gets lost. But if they have like a cheerier season, like, Rose, End of the World, I'm Quite Dead, they were more like kind of on the fun side. But then when it came to the end of the season, it was just dark and hard hitting. It makes the dark and hard hitting more hard hitting.
Yeah.
Like when you compare the pilot and Word Enough and Time, it's a big contrast in feel. And that made it feel like it was darker as well, because there was a bigger contrast. But if everything's dark, you kind of get too used to it.
Basically, yeah.
And it's too, like, the kill me in Word Enough and Time. That's really dark compared to the pilot Puddle. It's kind of comical,
Basically,
really.
yeah.
But, you've got to have the contrast within the
Tone is
season.
important,
The tonal contrast really helps. So you have to start the season off cheery. And if they have a really dark ending to it, it would work great.
Yeah, I'd agree there. What else could they learn from the Moffat era?
Better characters, better side characters. Oh, just not forgetting things.
Basically, learn more from the Russell T Davies era.
I think the problem was Moffat used to forget a lot.
Yeah.
Like Vastra, Jenny and Strax just disappeared after Deep Breath. They're gone. Kate and Osgood, they're just forgotten about. Where were they in Live Land Extremis?
And and they kind of forgot plot points and I think the plot points were the more annoying thing, is because fans would always keep bringing stuff up to him that clearly he'd forgotten, and then hastily bring them back in. Particularly in Name of the Doctor's case, as you said, like a lot of the plot points were just solved in seconds at the end of there. Yeah, so don't bring in too many elements that you're likely to forget. I'd say would be a good.
Don't reveal everything in trailers.
No, but that wasn't Moffat's fault. He didn't want that happening.
What, the John Sim thing?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Who was that decision?
That was a marketing.
Was it?
Yeah.
Fucking marketing. Okay, well, they should learn from their mistakes. Hopefully. I guess Chibnall. Thing is that I think Moffat could be a bit of a pushover at times.
Yeah.
I think
really do.
He gives me that kind of feel.
Well, we're saying that now because Chibnall clearly isn't. He's pushing for bigger budgets. He's pushing for bigger effects. He's pushing for... he's pushing the boat out, whereas Moffat stayed very much within the restrictions of the BBC. He bent over to them in terms of time zones, in terms of release, in terms of, budget, and, that some of the things that they'd ended up in that really suffered for it. See Prisoner Zero. And, he did really just kind of act... I guess maybe also partly because he was also doing 2 shows with them. So he didn't want to screw over one if he was kind of messing them around with the other.
Don't do 2 shows at once.
That helps. Or at the very least, don't show run 2 shows at once. You can probably write for 2 shows at once.
Possibly. Maybe. Not really, though. You should concentrate on one, baby.
Concentrate. But, I think... I don't know.
But yeah. Barely any spoilers are coming out. I mean, we only know very few. Yeah. I think the latest rumour is there's going to be 3 historical, which is brilliant. Because I miss the historicals. Where was the historical one? Really, Eaters of Light and Empress of Mars was kind of... Oh yeah, no, it did have a few, didn't it? That was good. Yeah, see, Series 10 got it right. It had the right balance. We had the futuristic one with Word Enough and Time, Dr. Fools. Though Dr. Fools was kind of not really futuristic. but kind of smile Oxygen, and Empress of Mars was kind of in between those. It was kind of historical, kind of not.
Yeah.
I did enjoy Empress of Mars. It's a nice, fun 45-minute one. But yeah, it was enjoyable. But yeah, so 3 historical, 3 in the future, then 4 in present day. Obviously, the first one's going to be present day. That one needs to be really solid. They need to get that right.
Yeah, that's going to make or break the next series, I think.
It's gonna have record viewings for the last 3 years. It's gonna be the highest it's ever been.
Oh yeah,
I'm guessing
easily.
9 million, maybe 8 to 9, which is a big jump from the 5s and 6s.
Yeah. No, I definitely say we will see a big jump.
And then if that gets good reviews, hopefully it would go up again for the following week.
I wouldn't say go up again. I think even within the
Russell T.
Yeah, even within the really good opening stories where they jump up for the new Doctors, usually there's a decline. That usually settles fairly high after that. So
Rose went from 10.81 to 7.97.
So if we look at Deep Breath, that was 9.17, and then we look at Into the Dalek, it was 7.29, which is, and they kind of kept that steady thing throughout the series. And that was higher than the end of Matt Smith's proper series, which, you're looking at Hyde with 6.61 or Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS with 5.50. It only leapt because of the 50th at that point.
Yeah, with the 12 point.
I mean, that's inevitably going to happen. It's just the ratio of which it settles at is important. If it settles at a good number, if it's... I mean, even if it's within the 8 to 7 million range, if it settles at, will be good. Because that's about what it was. Yeah.
It used to be 8 7s,
I just
10 if we were lucky.
I'm just slowly getting worried because
it's just going down.
Yeah, it's going down, and I think
the thing is, this is only UK million.
I think also the landscape of TV is slowly changing. So whether or not Doctor Who being on the BBC like it is now is going to maintain that viewership when streaming services inevitably somewhat take places, I fear for that future, because it's never going to be the same if we're having them all dumped at once and we're binge watching them, and because the way things are going, that's inevitable. I mean,
I really don't want to binge watch it.
But the issue is, especially in Doctor Who's case, because other shows are doing fine. You look at your Strictly's, you look at your but they're all catered to older viewers. They're the shows that are doing the best because they're the ones who are more religiously watching TV. For the age range that Doctor Who tends to go for, they're moving to streaming services. They're watching it on there. How long is it before the bubble bursts and the viewing figures are just going to dump?
I think what they need to do is do it like Rick and Morty did it on Netflix.
They have it
so
both.
It got uploaded onto, so it went live on Adult Swim, and then a week later it went onto Netflix. So it was still a week later, but you could just watch it on YouTube in that time. Yeah. But there was a week between. But it went up on Netflix. So people on the streaming services, it come on Netflix. It comes up with new episodes.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, there it is, because then it's shoved right in your face.
The thing about that, I'd say, in terms of...
Because Doctor Who's on Netflix
is that,
anyway.
Certainly, I'd say Cartoon Network / Adult Swim are far more ahead of the curve in terms of that. I think the BBC are kind of very much left in the past, and all their attempts to kind of modernise have failed.
Well, they tried Class and it messed up.
No, I mean specifically because they also had the BBC Store.
Oh yeah,
as well.
That was stupid as well.
Yeah, and I mean, they're behind the curve, and when they try to do their more traditional ways of doing things in the modern things, it just doesn't end up working. So whether or not the BBC, I don't know what they're going to do for that. I don't know what their future is. I mean, they're doing okay right now, and they're probably going to continue to do so for a while. I don't see that necessarily being an issue for maybe even not for another 5 years. But, with the way things are going, that is inevitable.
It all depends
That's where all
on-
the money is.
It depends on the
The
season.
big money is in the streaming services. That's, I think, inevitably the point where Doctor Who's going to have to get to is there.
Yeah.
Quite
maybe.
frankly, for its continued success. It just depends on how they do it. Because, of course, even the big US shows, a lot of them, like you see your Game of Thrones or Walking Dead, they're on TV first, of course, before they're going on streaming and whatnot. So I think that's going to continue. That should be the route they go in at some point. I don't know which service they'll go with or what, but, whether or not they'll do it with Netflix, Amazon Prime, or whatever other billion streaming services we're going to be getting now, because Disney's playing their own. There's going to be. We're in the kind of the build up to a whole streaming war here. This is a much bigger thing than just Doctor Who. The landscape is changing, and we're going to be getting soon enough as these things build up. We're going to be getting a ton of these streaming services all over. It's going to change film, and very much it's going to change TV. And Doctor Who and a lot of other traditional shows and films are caught in the middle of this. So it'd be interesting to see where it goes, see how it survives, see how it continues. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, it's all up in the air, really. It will happen eventually. Or streaming services will, start to decrease, or streaming services will then start playing live TV.
There's going to be, I think there's going to be pretty much what can be considered a war of streaming services, and there's going to be a lot of casualties. A lot of companies will be absorbed or killed off in this, I think. We've already seen this with Fox. They've been absorbed because of the streaming. They can't compete in their current state, so they're just selling what they've got and focusing on where they can continue to grow.
It'll be,
and in fact, this is again, this is bigger than Doctor Who. This is the whole BBC. What are they gonna do when this whole streaming madness goes into full effect? I mean, I think the BBC might be okay on the fact that they tend to focus a lot more on the older viewer. And they're going to continue to watch TV till the end. So,
But eventually, those older viewers are going to die.
Yeah. So we're getting to that point now where we can kind of see where the landscape's going to progress. And Doctor Who being a show focused on younger-ish people, as inevitably it's not going to survive if it continues on BBC the way it is now in the future.
Yeah. So it's all big. I'm excited if they do. I hope they do a new Sonic. I hope they do. I mean, obviously there's a new exterior TARDIS. I hope they don't show the TARDIS, because that was a really exciting thing for Series 5. Everyone was waiting for the TARDIS interior reveal.
And it didn't look like it. Like, I think at the time I was a little disappointed because colour-wise and all that, it looked very, very similar to the last one, basically.
Yeah.
And in terms of the whole junk,
if they'd gone from the coral to the Capaldi one,
that would have been a huge leap. But
so
the first one didn't look very different.
No. I don't think they took enough risks with it. Also, I didn't really like the column. It didn't. I don't think it had enough going on. The blowed glass looked good, but I think it needed lights inside it to look a bit better.
Yeah. It looked very much like they kind of gave the idea that the Doctor was a bit of a bit more, a bit of a kleptomaniac with cobbling in the kind of the previous design. But this just felt like a huge, like, what if you made a TARDIS out of a junk pile?
I think they should have made that a trait, actually. Like, in episodes you've seen pick up random things and just put them in his pocket.
Maybe that could cause an issue. Maybe he picks up the wrong thing and the future changes.
Yeah,
butterfly effect. Oh, that'd be interesting. Oh, they should do that. They should do that.
Like Kleptomaniac, and then, like, he pulls out and he fixes, get rid of a Sonic, and he takes things out of his pocket which he picked up earlier. Like, you go, oh, this would be useful, and he just starts. Yeah, or
he accidentally.
she now.
He accidentally. Yeah, she accidentally picks up.
It accidentally starts packing.
And pulls out like something incredibly important to the history of time that he's just picked up.
And she's like, oh, fuck. Except without that, because it's Doctor Who family show. Oh, ploppers. But yeah, I think it'd be good, a Kleptomaniac. And they just get rid of a Sonic, because I think it is right to get rid of a Sonic. I think the Psychic Paper was a great ad. That was actually one of the best ads from us.
Yeah,
actually.
kind of.
But anyway, that's kind of the era.
We very much went off topic.
Yeah, well, it's kind of what could be learnt from it. Better marketing, better monsters.
Well, I mean, in terms of being the whole streaming services thing.
And just stand his ground. But yeah, we've seen no spoilers, many, everything being revealed. I mean, we know there's going to be, like, King James I, but that's an interesting person to have.
Yeah, it's not really.
It's not Victorian London. Hey!
Yay! Finally.
I think Chibnall probably watched Doctor Who throughout it being on. Watched
sure
the Moffat
he did.
era.
Sure he
So
did.
I'm pretty sure he knows how he could do it better. Because, I mean, everyone looks at that. Everyone looks at someone else's work and goes, I would have changed this or that.
I know. So we've been doing this entire discussion.
Yeah, and then we'd probably get in charge and be like, what the fuck? What do we do?
What do we do? Let's make the Doctor a sheep.
Meh.
And the companions can be shepherds.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we've gone on long enough.
That's it. So thank you very much for listening.
Yeah.
Let us know below what you thought of this era in reflection. Whoa, this is long. Jesus. Wow.
Yeah, that's what I was...
Hour and a half. Wow. Okay. So thank you very much for listening.
Yeah.
We'll see you at some point. Bye.
Boy.